Hello, welcome to another episode of This is Mappa, a Cyprus football podcast, a Cypriot football podcast. I'm your host, Stel. Now, as you can see, I don't have my co-host with me tonight. Roy is unavailable, Kiri's unavailable. We usually record these shows during the day, but unfortunately, work commitments means that neither of us could come up with a solution. So I've decided instead of waiting a week to do a double episode, I'll do one on my own. I don't think the boys will mind. And yeah, let's get to it. Now, boys and girls, the Protathlima this season has been so unpredictable. A lot happens in Cyprus on and off the field. And every episode, there's always a story, always shenanigans going on. And this weekend just gone, again, you see a few things here and there, but I'm going to start with the Limassol derby between Apollon and Aris. Apollon were top of the table at the time, playing against a very, very resolute Aris team. Now, just to give you guys a bit of background going into this one, the game actually almost didn't go ahead. And the reason being is that the GSO, who own the Cypriot, the stadium, they had difficulty finding someone to insure the stadium for the game. Now, as you guys are probably aware, most stadiums, in fact, all stadiums across the world, they need to be fit and proper for games. And for financial and for legal purposes, they all need to be insured. Well, the Cypriot is an old stadium to the point where, you know, a new stadium is being built in Limassol for the three teams in the city. And I'm guessing it's going to be ready by February, March. I don't think anyone will be playing in it, but it'll be ready for next season. So the Cypriot is crumbling. And the athletic committee that owned the stadium couldn't find an insurer. They couldn't find anyone to say, "Yep, don't worry, we'll put our name to this." But fortunately, they did the day before the game, and it went ahead. And much to some people's surprise, and I say some people because not many people gave Aris a hope in hell when they got promoted, but they spent well. They brought in some fantastic players, Stepinski being one of them from Hellas Verona, who scored 5 goals this season. There was Bambika, another signing for them in the summer, who stole the show. And in all fairness, when you watch the game as a whole, Apollon were out of ideas, and they just couldn't cope with Paquet on that left-hand side. And here's the highlights of the game. Once I get it available here, for crying out loud, Stel, wake up. Here we go. As I said, Paquet was causing them all sorts of problems down their left-hand side, down Apollon's right-hand side. They haven't seemed to find, or should I say, found a solution to their right-back problem. I know Mavrias has come in from Omonoia, but he hasn't had many opportunities. But Bambika gave Aris the lead in the 19th minute. Again, Paquet causing them all sorts of problems down that left-hand side. And the marking, the defending, everything about it was absolutely terrible. It seems to be a running theme with the Protathlima in terms of the standard of defending. Some of it is good. Most of it is shit. And as you can see from that goal, you're letting the man get in the cross in the box. The marking was absolutely terrible. The man that was marking Bambika had his back turned. That just says it all, really. Stur had a great chance to level it. Spoljaritsen had a shot which was well saved by the goalkeeper. Stepinski then had a great chance to grab his 6th goal of the season. Again, the ball into the box, sublime. But he just couldn't get a proper connection to it. It was a good save from the goalkeeper. The closest Apollon came to a goal was obviously Stur's chance from the first half, but Dabo hit a shot which hit the post. The 34-year-old scored 4 goals this season, and apparently he's going to be offered a contract. But the second goal, 53rd minute, again, Bambika, unmarked, easy finish. Okay, he did take a little bit of a bobble on the way in, but that was it. That was it for Aris, a big, big victory for them. And while Apollon had a few chances at the end, there was more half chances than anything. And Tornica will be very disappointed. I think he'll be disappointed with the manner in which they lost, because both goals could have been avoided if the defenders were doing their job. and just looking at the man. Don't look at the ball, follow the man. And they refused to do that. And that's it, game over, really. Like I said, Apollon had a couple of half chances, but it's been a great season for Aris. And Vanna Alves, the goalkeeper, he's kept 7 clean sheets in the last 13 games. He's gone 270 minutes without conceding a goal. That's an absolutely fantastic record for a goalkeeper that's come up. In fact, I think he joined in the summer, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check that. But this is a good team, Aris. They're causing a lot of problems, and their fans were singing about winning the title. Now, will they win the title? I don't think they will. When Stepinski isn't firing on all cylinders, granted, they need other players to score goals. And as we saw, Bambiga scored twice for him. But can they go on to win the Protathlima? I don't think they can. I think there are 2, maybe 3 teams better than them that can go on to win it, especially when it comes to the playoffs. But don't get me wrong, if they get to the playoffs, they've got as good a chance to win it than anyone else. They've had an outstanding season so far. And I'm sure that they will continue to play this wonderful style of football that they are. They're very dangerous, especially on the counter-attack. They've got a lot of pace out wide, as we saw with Paquet and Bambiga. And I mentioned Stepinski. I don't think he's going to have a future at Hellas Verona. I spoke to the guys at the Italian Football Podcast. In fact, I asked him a question on their last show, and they're adamant that he won't be at Hellas Verona next season, which is a shame for him. That being said, if the club can get 2 million or £1.5 million for him, anyone who signs him will be very, very pleased to have him in their team. Now, Apollon's loss was AEK's game. AEK Larnaca went into their game against Omonoia knowing that a draw would take them top of the league on goal difference. Going into this game, their goal difference was plus 14, 5 better than Apollon. And they went to the Ghazi B to face an Omonoia side who also were unbeaten in 3, going through some sort of a renaissance now. Their season seems to be picked up, or is picking up, should I say. And in all fairness, watching this game as an Omonoiadi, I was shitting myself because I know how good AEK are. And I said it at the beginning of the season when we did our season preview. I felt that AEK would be title contenders. I said they were my dark horses. And in this game, the first half, AEK had a lot of half chances. Don't get me wrong. This clip that you just seen with Jordi Gomez hitting the crossbar from the corner was probably the closest Omonoia got to a goal in the first half. But AEK played the ball very, very well. They had a very good system. They lined up with a 4-2-3-1. In fact, it was more like a 4-4-2 really, with Matt Derbyshire peeling off Trzaskowski. But they were very energetic. They moved the ball very well. Going forward, it was more like a 4-1-3-2. They caused Omonoia a lot of problems. Ledes in the middle of the park was absolutely fantastic. Ran the show as far as I'm concerned. I think it was quite unfortunate not to be given MVP. As I said, AEK had a lot of half chances in the first half. This was probably the closest that they came to a goal, a volley, which was blocked. And then the rebound shot just wide. It actually took a deflection of Hubachan, but a corner wasn't given. And I'm sure Trzaskowski was very, very unhappy about that. But look, the guy's got 8 goals this season. He's the league's leading goal scorer. And I think Matt Derbyshire got 6. So they're a very, very lethal team, AEK. Omonoia, unfortunately, we didn't have that many chances, in all fairness. As I mentioned, Jordi's corner, which hit the crossbar, and Fodi's shot here, which went just wide. But AEK were constantly knocking on the door in this opportunity. While it was a half chance, I'm sure Shehu would be pretty upset with himself for not clearing it properly. He headed it straight back to him. And another chance here from Matt Derbyshire, but you miss it. But the goal came from Mamas. Fantastic strike from the outside of the box. Okay, it bounced in front of Uzoho, the goalkeeper. But it was a great strike from the youngster who joined from Spal in the summer, his first goal for the club. And with 12 minutes to go, you're thinking, as an Omonoia fan, the way that AEK have been playing this season, going a goal up, you think the game's over. But in all fairness, this team didn't give up. They didn't give up. And within a minute, Omonoia were level. But I'm just showing this goal again because it was a wonderful strike from Mamas. Absolutely brilliant strike. But within a minute, Omonoia drew level. Jan Lesiaks, who has been pretty quiet this season, delivered the ball to Loizo. His missed kick went straight to Fodi Babuli. and the 36-year-old equaliser. I thought he loved scoring against AEK. He scored the winner last season, which ultimately gave Omonoia the title at the AEK Arena. And his goal, within a minute, as I said, has given Omonoia a point. Now, in terms of the season going forward, this was a must-win game for Omonoia. Let's not make any bones about it. Granted, after this, there's still 3 more games until the Christmas break, but 3 games in 7 days is going to be difficult. And a draw here, not good enough for the club. As we see, Johnny's had a couple of chances to win it. Gaguli should have got on the end of that cross. But, you know, if you'd have told AEK before the game that they'd have taken a point, they'd have bit your hand off. The point means more to AEK than it does for Omonoia. But then again, every point counts. So, you know, on the one hand, it's not really a good point for Omonoia. But on the other, we won't know what it means until the end of May. Mamas had a chance right there with 5 minutes to go. His shot went wide for a goal kick. And that was it. 1-1 draw. But look, AEK have been fantastic this season. Absolutely fantastic. And I know they lost against Aris 3 or 4 weeks ago. But this is a team that constantly keeps going. They've got a lot of energetic players, very intelligent footballers. And when you've got someone like Matt Derbyshire and Triskovsky up front, 2 proven goal scorers, you know, it's very, very difficult to rule them out. And with Apollon at this current time, with Dabo, the only recognised striker who's fit, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I wonder if Dingini is going to come back, if he's going to be fit, firing on all cylinders. I don't know that situation. But again, Psicha is coming back from injury for Apollon, and they have had a few injuries. They've made some signings as well that obviously haven't worked out yet. But the same could be said about AEK. You know, they made several signings in the summer, and Gadala, his first job as a head coach, and he's doing remarkably well for him. So, yeah, let's see how it goes. As for Omonoia, well, as I said, Omonoia got 3 games in 7 days. Doxa, AEL, and Apollon. And as far as I'm aware, Jordi Gomez might miss those games. He had an MRI coming off injured against AEK. And again, that spells trouble for the Apollon game. Because as we said on the last show, because the game's rearranged and it's continuing from the 16th minute, both teams have to have the same lineup. If they don't have the same lineup, or they have players missing, any player that comes in to replace the injured player is a substitution. If Jordi doesn't make it, whoever comes in is a substitution. So, yeah, I know there's 5 subs in Cyprus, and, you know, sometimes Henning Berg doesn't make all 5. But you never know what could happen. And the other thing going into the AEL game, Uzoho, the goalkeeper, who's been fantastic since coming in to cover from Fabiano, who's been injured, he won't be able to play. And the reason why he won't be able to play is because it's a rearranged game. This game against AEL, after Loxa, was meant to be the first game of the season for Omonoia. Now, Uzoho wasn't an Omonoia player at the time. In fact, he joined at the end of the transfer window, which means he wasn't registered for that game. And under the Protathlima rules, Uzoho cannot play in the game against AEL. So it's going to be Banayi in goal. And listen, Banayi had a fantastic game against Ethnikos. He made the super save from Ilia, which kept the score at 1-0 at the time. And he's an experienced goalkeeper. Now, Doxa is going to be Uzoho's game, the final game before he misses the AEL game. But AEL, another club who are struggling at this moment in time, struggling for goals, struggling for anything, as I'll show you later on. Can't rule them out, though. It's going to be a very, very difficult game for Omonoia. Now, on to the next game. Full of incident. Apoel 1, Olympiacos 1 at the Ghazibi. And early opportunity for Apoel, a handball shout. In fact, Apoel had 3 handball shouts in this one. The first one, the shot from De Vicente, hit the defender's shoulder. It went to VAR. It was reviewed for a couple minutes. And I think this angle shows it much better. De Vicente shoots, defender falls. It actually hits his shoulder. Referee originally gave a penalty. Then he went to VAR, took another check. And as you can see from the footage here, hits the defender's shoulder, no chance for a penalty. Now, with this one, Apollon, without Gvilidaya, who had COVID, were really struggling to create many opportunities. Nadal had a shot which hit the post from outside the box. Olympiacos also had a shot from outside the box, but this is what it seems to be the growing theme of this game: chances from outside the box, half chances, and nothing really to get fans off their seat. Second half, though, stepped up a little bit more. Apollon had a chance again from Nadal, who has been their best player this season. He's been the only guy that seems to be creating. Here was a big chance for Lucas Souza, a shot which was deflected into his path. A great save from the goalkeeper. Really should have put his chance away. And here comes another chance for Olympiacos. This time, Scuffet makes a fantastic save. But then a little bit of a handball shout, a shot from outside the box, which they claim came off the defender's hand. The referee shot it down straight away, said, nope, not going to happen, not a penalty. And again, Apollon constantly shooting from outside the box because they couldn't create anything. Ogriasvili was quiet. But here comes a sending off from Shabak. He went for an overhead kick, caught the defender in his head, and second yellow. And to be fair, I don't think he could argue with that. Here comes the third penalty shout from Maglitsa. His header, he claimed that it came with the defender's arm. Judging from this angle, though, you can't really tell. And I think probably that's what VAR went with. But here comes the chance, which was saved from Scuffet. Scuffet kept Apollon in this game, to be fair. He made two great saves. But Olympiacos took the lead from Manzis. Close range effort with 3 minutes to go. And you're thinking, wow, okay, game's over here. Poor defending, by the way. Ball watching, again, running theme. But with 2 minutes to go, Garo scoring the equalizer for Apollon, a player who he's been one of their best players this season. Nadal and Souza have been their best player, but from a defensive aspect, Garo's been fantastic. This third goal of the season, he's level with Gvilidaya on goals. And he's been a big signing for him. Now, granted, Apollon defensively, they've been pretty poor. Let's make no bones about it. They've been pretty poor defensively. But Garo has kept them in games. As we saw with this one, he scored the equalizer, third goal of the season. Savic has done well, but Garo, he's been the glue that's held them together. And while signing Scuffet has improved them in goal, because let's be 100% honest, Mikhail, as good as he is, he's not Scuffet. And Scuffet has come with a big reputation. When he was at Udinese as a youngster, they were calling him the next Buffon. And that's a big responsibility. Big responsibility. And things obviously haven't worked out for him. And coming to Apollon, maybe it's a chance to resurrect his career. I've heard Venezia are interested in him, as are Spal. So maybe using Apollon could be a stepping stone for him to get a move to the Serie B side and then resurrect his career. But Garo's been fantastic for Apollon this season. The thing is, what I will say about Sofroni's side is they look nothing like the team that he wants. Now, by that, I mean, if you look at Apollon, if you look at AEK, his two last clubs, very high intensity, pressing from the front. Apollon aren't doing that. Now, obviously, this isn't the house that Sofroni built. Most of these players, in fact, all of these players came under Bursa's tenure. So obviously, it isn't his team. But then when you look at the players that they got, Zabala at left back is fantastic. You know, Vinicius, the centre back, he's been okay. I mentioned Garo, De Vicenti, Souza has been fantastic, as has Nadal. Ogriasvili has been a problem this season, as far as I'm concerned. He hasn't turned up for games, hasn't really done anything. In fact, the only thing I can remember him doing is giving the ball away on the opening day against Buffalo. I think it was their fourth goal. Gvilidaya has been okay, scored 3 goals this season, but he looks very down, very isolated. And I'm sure there's more to come from him. But then when you look at the history, he's had injuries. Ogriasvili's had injuries. Dausvili hasn't even kicked the ball for weeks. And he's sitting on the bench. So from a club who made some very, very big signings in the summer, and one journalist had the temerity to say, excuse me, it's the new Galacticos. Well, They are acting a bit like the Galacticos in terms of the whole prima donna behavior. But listen, it's been a topsy-turvy year for Apollon. Incidentally, they were fined for the racist chanting towards Jason Punchin. I'm hearing that it was around 100 grand. And that's a big fee. That's a big amount of money. Now, that fee wasn't disclosed by GOP or by Apollon, but I've heard it on good authority that it's around the 100 grand mark, if not more. So it's a step forward in terms of setting a precedent and also making an example of Apollon. But again, this won't go away, and it shouldn't go away. This shouldn't be the end of the matter. The club needs to act on sorting out the issue with racism, and I hope the people that made the monkey chants get caught and they get a lifetime ban, or hopefully even arrested. So yeah, interesting times. That's what Olympiacos. What's quite interesting is Donaida, the president of the club, spoke. They had a little forum on Facebook, and he gave it to Apollon. He called them crybabies because they were complaining about the 3 penalty appeals. And Donaidis isn't a guy that you really want to cross. He's very outspoken, isn't afraid to speak his mind. And on the field, Olympiacos, some may say, have been punching above their weight. And look, when you look at the teams below them, you know, AEL should be up there, but they're not. Apollon, sure as hell, should be up there, but they're not. Anorthosis should be up there, and they're not. So Olympiacos, a club who have sold a few players in the summer. Zahario left, they went to Omonoia, Sati left, a few others. But they've rebuilt. You know, Mikhail was on loan from Apollon. They brought in Mal. You know, this is a team that Petraki's junior has assembled, and they're punching above their weight, but they deserve it. And this is the second season where they could end up in the top 6. And this is progress for a club who, you know, many find they're unfancied. They're not one of the big boys. They're probably the smallest club in Nicosia, definitely smaller than Omonia and Apollon. So for them to be in the position that they are, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, you know, it's a good place to be from. It's a very, very good place to be from. Now, I'm going to finish this off with a quick roundup of the last 2 games. In fact, Bayek played Ethnikos and lost 2-0, which is a big result for Ethnikos down at the bottom, but it doesn't really change things because they're still rock bottom and Bayek are still ahead of them. But the next game is FC Bafo beating AEL by 1-0. The winning goal coming early on in the game, 5th minute, Finnish international Valakari. Great strike from outside the box. But Vozinha, my best friend, the goalkeeper, I don't know what he's doing standing in between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box. This is a goalkeeper that's the captain of the club. I don't know what to say about this one that many people haven't already said. AEL were terrible, absolutely terrible. And look, this is a club who last season were challenging for the title. And now they're in the bottom 6 and could be in a relegation battle. There are serious problems. And I know Bandelidis has come in and he's got his own ideas. From what I heard, Dusan Kerkez, as great of a job he did for AEL over the past few years, he lost a lot of confidence in the players and vice versa. A little birdie told me he was calling a lot of these players shit as well. You know, then that's no way to keep the morale up. As I said, AEL were absolutely devoid of confidence, devoid of ideas in this game. And Buffer could have had more. Chavez had that chance, as we saw near the end of the clip. But that's the closest they got to scoring. And AEL have got problems, big problems. Now, obviously, as I said, Bandelidis has come in. He's got his own ideas. Bebe has come in as sporting director, you know, former striker, legend at the club, who was there when they won the league in 2012 or 2011, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a big job at hand. It's a big, big job at hand. And it's going to be very difficult for them to turn it round. You know, they started the season off really, really well. They beat Buffer 4-0 on the opening day of the season. And in fact, Shepovic, who signed in the summer, you know, he started like a house on fire. Then they drew with Olympiacos. They lost to Apollon, which, okay, fair enough. I understand. They had a good result against Bayek. They beat Anorthosis at home. And then they drew with Ethnikos. And that's when it all started. Their last victory was against Anorthosis on the 17th of October. You know, you're talking about a team without a win in 7. Without a win in 7. All right, granted, the teams that they lost against Aris in the derby, which you can understand because Aris riding a crest of a wave, but then to get hammered at Apollon 3-0. Now, it's no embarrassment to lose against Apollon 3-0 at the Ghazi, but it's the manner in which they lost the game. Absolutely toothless. And Apollon could have had 6 or 7 in that. They drew against Doxa. Doxa second from bottom. Come on, man. That's when you know there's problems. They lost to AEK 2-0. No shame because AEK are top. They lost to Omonoia 1-0 at home. A game which they had 1 shot on target, 2 shots, if I'm not mistaken. And then against Buffer, a performance like that. As I said, Bande Leaders has got a big, big job to do. And, you know, the transfer window is looming. Whether or not they bring in some players, they're definitely going to have to bring in some players. But then when you look at their squad overall, I mean, they've got players like Anthony Georgiou that broke into the Ipswich team after leaving Spurs. You know, Minas Andoniu, good player. Baba Fodi, good player. Cito Riera, very good player. A lot of these players were the team last season that were challenging for the title. I'm sorry, I'm not going to turn around and say they lost Ryan Meyer that scored them so many goals last season. That's the reason. No, that's not the reason. There's clearly a slump. There's clearly a can't even get my words out. Clearly a confidence issue. And with Vozinha going to the African Cup of Nations with Cape Verde, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Now, from what I'm hearing, they're looking for another goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper that could be joining them on loan in January, I know myself. And I've spoken to him at great length. And I hope he does get his move there because he's a very good goalkeeper. I'm not going to mention his name. But yeah, if they're looking for a goalkeeper, then he's the guy. And look, I don't like doing this every week because it's not fair on the guy. But Vozinha is not a goalkeeper. He isn't a goalkeeper. He shouldn't be in that team. I'm sorry. You know, and for him to be the captain, that just shows you how much they're struggling. I've argued with Roy on numerous occasions. You know, my co-host, he loves Vozinha. Well, he doesn't love Vozinha, but he rates him as a very good goalkeeper. I think he's terrible. I really think he's terrible. And again, I don't mean to disrespect footballers because they have a difficult job. They get a lot of pressure, a lot of stick. And IL being in the position that they are, seeing Apollon, their rivals above them, miles ahead of them, it's not easy. And players get a lot of stick. But this goalkeeper, he's bad. He's really bad. I'm not talking like Michael Jackson bad. I'm talking like terrible bad. I mean, I could do a compilation. In fact, I've done a compilation of his mistakes. I don't know, man. I don't know. But IL have got problems. They've got big problems. And look, when you got defenders like, you know, Rizewski making mistakes, when you got Bruno Santos, who just doesn't look interested, they need to have a clear out. But who's going to come in? Who's going to come in? I don't know. Look, it was a big summer for him in terms of bringing in players. Chavez hasn't really done anything. He struggled. He really has struggled. But so have all of the other strikers. You know, Meyer leaving was, as I said, was a big problem. Avidaj leaving was a problem. Babic, you know, I know he didn't really do too much last season. I think he was on loan, if I'm not mistaken. No, he was there with them last season. Girago left. Danilo left. Danilo was a big loss for him. I know they got, 100 grand for him, there or thereabouts. But again, you know, when you're looking at Madevac as your leading goal scorer with 3 goals, Mazurek, your attacking midfielder with 3 goals, Euler, the left back, with 2 goals. Euler's got just as many goals as Shepovic. Come on, there's big problems at Ireland. They need to address them, and I'm pretty sure they will be addressed. But whatever, it is what it is. Anyway, on to the final game, and I'm going to talk about Little Anorthosis. I'll say Little Anorthosis. They're one of the biggest clubs in Cyprus, man. They're another club who have been so inconsistent this season. Going into the game against Doxa, no wins in 4, and a penalty shout which they got in the 22nd minute for a handball by La France. This guy, crying out loud, Gacharava, who we spoke about a few weeks ago. He's Ketspire. Ketspire is the head coach of Anorthosis, as you guys are probably aware. Gacharava is his godson. And a few weeks ago, he said, you're never playing for this team again. But here we go. Gacharava called up into the first team because Lafferty isn't playing. He's been sacked off. And he wins a penalty. And Popovic's penalty was saved, very well saved. Well, it's a good height for the goalkeeper, man. I mean, look, if the goalkeeper's not saving this, I don't know. It's a terrible penalty. But, Deletic, who's come of age, giving Anorthosis the lead with a fucking cracker. Now, this is a guy who last week missed 2 great opportunities against Apollon to give them all 3 points. And difficult technique. But listen, he's come from Greece and high expectation. And it looks like he's turned the corner. And this, a second penalty given for a foul. I'll look at this. I've seen it time and time again. For me, it's outside the box or at least on the edge of the box. But VAR said because his toe was inside the box, it's a penalty. And there it is. The referee gave it. What can I tell you? Amir Vada scoring from the spot, his 5th goal of the season. Another fantastic signing. Absolutely fantastic signing. Look, when he joined Anorthosis, he came with a big reputation from Bark. And a lot of people were saying, look, this is another opportunity for him to restart his career. And look, he's carried Anorthosis this season. He's been absolutely fantastic for him. And he's a fantastic talent as well. Don't get me wrong. Like I never doubted his ability. His shenanigans off the field, yes, I doubted. But look, he's a very, very skillful player. He's going to be at Africa Cup of Nations with Mo Salah. So again, Anorthosis going to lose him. But with Deletic coming into the team and scoring and getting his confidence back, Vada going might not be a bad thing for Anorthosis. Might not be a bad thing for them. That being said, as I said last week, he's been carrying them all season. They haven't got a recognized striker in Daxi. Right, okay, Gacharava is a striker, but he's not going to get you 10 goals. He might not even get you 5 goals this season. They don't have a striker. Lafferty's not there. Rusha, I don't know what's happened to Rusha. He joined in the summer. He's hardly kicked the ball. So what's going to happen? Let's see. I don't know if Lafferty's going to go. If Lafferty does go, if he's released, that frees up a spot for a non-Cypriot player. Then maybe we can talk about Anorthosis, signing another striker. But that's it for the roundup. But just a few quick tidbits, as they say. New measures have come into force in Cyprus by the Council of Ministers, ruling on Monday. And they're trying to spread... Sorry, let me start that again because it's 12 o'clock. Sorry, 10 past midnight. I can't even get my words out. It's 10 past midnight and I'm fucking all over the gaff. But yeah, they're trying to prevent the spread of COVID. And before, you needed a fan card, which basically had your name and your address. And that enabled you to get a ticket for the game. The fan card showed that you were double vaccinated. You had your PCR test, blah, blah, blah. You were able to get into the stadium. Now, they've completely changed it. So if you're 12 years old or above, you can provide a proof that you have the vaccine or you have a certificate of recovery, which means that you haven't had the virus for the last 6 months. You can come in. Now, if you're between the age of 6 and 11, you have to provide a negative PCR test or a negative rapid test within 7 days. And that, I think if it's children under 6, they don't have to provide anything. If you don't have the vaccine, but you have a medical problem, which means you can't have the vaccine, as long as you provide a PCR test that's less than 7 days old, you can come in. And people 18 years or older who've been vaccinated with at least 1 dose of the vaccine have to provide a 72-hour PCR test with that's negative. So they're bringing in these rules, which is making it very difficult for people to come in. I mean, there's even one that says people who have received the second jab or have been vaccinated with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and have passed 7 months of day of vaccination, they need to provide a 72-hour PCR test or a rapid test that's 48 hours negative. So they're making it so difficult for people to go into stadiums. And I understand it. You got a pandemic. you're worried, you don't want it to spread. And obviously Cyprus is a small island. There's only 1 million people. So if there's 1,000 new cases, it's a big deal. It's not like in the UK, 1,000 cases are a big deal. You know, if it's 30,000, 100,000, it's a big deal. But in Cyprus, 1,000 cases is a massive deal. But the thing is, you got people that don't want to be vaccinated. People need to pay for the PCR test. When I went to Cyprus, I'm seeing signs saying 10 euros for a PCR test. In England, we got it free off the NHS. But in Cyprus, you're paying 10 euros. So that goes back to the old adage. You know, you got a lot of people that don't want to be vaccinated, but every time they have to go somewhere in Cyprus, they have to show a negative PCR test. That's 72 hours, less than 72 hours old. Now, every 72 hours, you've got to do PCR tests to go to the shops, this and that. So you're paying 10 quid every 3 days, effectively. You do the maths. Attendances are dwindling. I think the Omonoia game had 7,000. I think Omonoia AEK had 7,000. Apollon against Olympiacos, maybe a little bit less. So yeah, you're not getting full stadiums. We didn't have full stadiums last season because obviously fans weren't allowed in the stadium. The year before, COVID cut it short, and even then, you didn't have, you know, tens of thousands of people. You'd be lucky to get 14,000 at a stadium these days. It's a shame. It's a shame because the atmosphere at Cypriot games is absolutely amazing. But yeah, so they got these COVID rules. It's just absolutely bonkers. I don't know what else to say. One more thing I will say though, before we wrap it up, the Coca-Cola Cup draw was made for the next round, and it's thrown up some tasty games, man. Some tasty games. Apollon face Aris in the derby. It's going to be over 2 legs. Apollon face Olympiacos again, so I'm kind of assuming that Don Aris is going to come out with another bit of magic with his statements. Buffo face Anorthosis. That's going to be another good game. Another good game. And Box, as they call them, face Omonoia. Now, this is an interesting one as an Omonoia fan because the Box right back, Jailson, who joined them in the summer from a team in Brazil, had a year at Omonoia back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be an interesting one. So yeah, have the Cypriot government put any funding in place to support them? That's from Chris, my cousin. No, not that I know of, right? As far as I'm aware, the money's coming out of the fans' pockets. That's what it is. And let's be 100% honest, man. When did the Cypriot FA ever do anything good for anyone? Nothing. You mean for the Cypriot clubs? No, man. No. The clubs are having to stand on their own 2 feet. And this is the problem because last season hurt a lot of clubs because of COVID. Fans weren't allowed in the stadium. It affected clubs in big ways. Now, teams like Apollon are like 12 million euros in debt, but they're still able to get sponsorships. They got a sponsorship with CableNet. They got a sponsorship with Stikima, the betting company. They got another one signed up today. So while they've got debts, they're still able to bring in money different ways. Clubs like Aris are lucky because they're bankrolled by a rich Russian. Apollon, I've got Girzi as their president, and he's very well off. Omonoia with Baba Stavro. Okay, the club has still got debts, but it's not uncontrollable. And bearing in mind that last season, the club made 9 million euros from Champions League group qualification stage and get into the Europa League. And this season with the Conference League, they might make another 5-6 million euros. Although obviously there's a Champions League qualification phase and then the Europa League qualification phase. So money is coming in that way. AEL were in the Europa League qualifier. They lost to Karabag. So some clubs have got money coming in, others don't. But in terms of GOP supporting the clubs, I don't think so, and I doubt it. I mean, let's be 100% honest. A lot of clubs don't even declare their attendances. From what I've heard, they do it because of tax purposes. So would they declare any money coming in from GOP? I highly doubt it. But anyway, it is what it is. This is CYPRUS, my friend, as I say. Right, before I wrap it up, the standings. AEK, top of the league on goal difference, as I mentioned before. Top of the league, Apollon second, Aris third, Buffo fourth, And Buff are another team to watch this season. I know they've only got one player going on African Cup of Nations duty, which is, I think it's Willy Sagnol, their striker. So they'll have a fully fit squad going into the second half of the season. And it's a very, very important stage of the season, January, because that's when we're getting closer to the playoffs. That's when the top 6 will be determined. Omonoia have got 3 players definitely going, Shehu, Uzoho, and Bashiru. I think 7 teams in total will have players going to the African Cup of Nations. As I mentioned before, with Anotosi with Varda, that's going to be a big loss for them. So again, a very, very difficult time for the clubs. Omonoia up to 5th, but with 2 games in hand. The 2 games against AEL, which is a rearranged fixture from the first game, and Apollon, which was postponed after 16 minutes thanks to fog. Yeah, so 6 points for Omonoia, hopefully. As an Omonoiadi, I'm hoping will move us up to 4th, but anyway, it is what it is. Olympiacos, 6th with 16 points. Then I'm also seeing Apollon also on 16 points. That the final spot for 6th place is getting tasty. AEL, 9th, 12 points. Crikey, Jesus Christ. I don't know what's going on with them. Well, I do. They're terrible. Doxa in 10th, who've changed their manager. They face Omonoia at the weekend. Bike, 11th on 11 points. And Ethnigos, 12th on 8 points. They're making a fight, though. They're not going down without a fight, to be fair. So that's it for another edition of This is Mappa. Thank you for tuning in. Those watching live, thank you for contributing with your comments. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully the other 2 will be available and can work around my busy schedule. So that's it, boys and girls. Take it easy. Goodbye.